Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. We're in the third webinar of the RISE webinar series. So welcome. Thanks for joining us. Today's webinar will be composting within a school setting with Nicholas Skrabek from Greenway School. Today's Wednesday, May 20th, 2020, 2 p.m. So I will quickly go into our agenda. So my name is Chantal Henderson. I am the Indigenous Programs Outreach Coordinator at the First Nations Waste Minimization Program here at Green Action Center. The RISE webinar series is a result of the cancellation of the RISE 2020 Teachers Conference that was originally scheduled for this week. So we decided to plan some webinars and invite some of our presenters from the conference to present, including Nicholas. So yeah, and I'll be your host today. Our co-host Beth will quickly introduce herself. Say hi.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Nice to see a lot of people are coming to several of the webinars. So seeing some familiar names in the list of participants. Oh, and just a reminder, I posted it in the chat box. But if you want to introduce yourself, go ahead and type it into the chat box. But please remember under the to, it says to all panelists. If you want everyone to see it, there's a drop-down menu, a little arrow pointing down, and just go into that and choose all panelists and attendees, because some people are sharing, you know, where they're from and etc. So yeah, thanks.
And just so everyone is aware, we have muted video and audio for all attendees. This is just to avoid any interruptions or disruptions due to background noise. So if you have any questions, just direct them to the chat room. Beth will be monitoring that, and we will answer the questions after the end of the presentation. So also let us know if there's any audio or video technical issues, and we'll try to see if there's anything we can do on our part. Before we begin, I would like to do our land acknowledgement. So we are located, the Green Action Center is located on the original lands of the Anishinaabe, Cree, Oji Cree, Dakota, and Dene peoples, as well as the homeland of the Métis Nation. So thank you. And we are going to go into poll questions for our attendees. We just want to quickly assess where you're from, who's here, things like that. So Beth will take it away.
Okay, hopefully you all see it in front of you now. There's 4 questions there. You might need to scroll down. There's a bar on the right side of the poll that you can just use to scroll down to get to question number 4. So, oh good, I see lots of people voting already. We're a quarter of the way there now. So let's see, we're 75%, getting close. And we'll give it a couple of more seconds for those who are still filling it out. Okay, let's see, I have one. Oh, Lorianne is in the same situation as before, that she can't see it, but Lorianne, for your benefit, we're just asking if you attended the 2019 RISE Teachers Conference. What is your connection with schools? Are you a teacher, principal, youth member, other? And are you a member of a Manitoba First Nation? And how did you hear about the RISE webinar series, like email or Facebook? So it looks like most people have voted now, so we'll end the polling and share the results. So we have 10% of folks did attend the 2019 RISE Teachers Conference. So if you haven't attended, please check out our website for more information. Hopefully we'll be able to hold it again later on. And we have 65% of participants are teachers and principal, and the rest are other. And we have 20% of attendees are from a Manitoba First Nation. Welcome. And how did you hear about the RISE webinar series? Mostly by email and some by word of mouth. So that's great. Over to you, Chantel.
Okay, great. So it's good to see where everyone has heard about this and where they are at. Let's continue sharing my screen here. Give me a second. There we go. So since we're done the poll questions, we'll dedicate about 30 minutes to 45 minutes for the speaker. So I'm going to introduce our speaker. He'll do his presentation, and then we'll have some time left, about 5-10 minutes at the end for Q&A. So post your questions in the chat box. And here is Nicholas Skrabek. He is a teacher at Greenway School here in Winnipeg. He has 9 years of experience as a LAC. That's a Learning Assistance Center classroom teacher for Winnipeg School Division No. 1. He is an active member of the School Communities Education for Sustainable Development team, focusing on developing and reclaiming our local green space. Take it away, Nick.
Hi, Chantel, do you mind allowing me some video?
Where are you? Hold on. Where's, why can't I see the video? Hold on. Where are you? Ask to start video.
There we are.
All right.
Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Glad to see you all here. I'm going to take about 20 minutes to present about our school and our composting initiative. I'm actually going to do a little bit of a highlight and kind of a rewind of where we started and where it led us to our composting, and then how we run our composting program at Greenway School. So I'm just going to get this all set up. Bear with me. So I apologize, just because we're using the webinar here, I will not be able to see my notes, so I might have to take a second to think, but hopefully everyone can see the slideshow here. And like Beth and Chantel said, if you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments or the chat box, and we'll have some time after. I also am going to be posting my email. If you have any questions or any comments or anything like that, feel free to just email me. You can access me through my school email address here. So, all right. So we're going to be talking about composting within our school setting. Who are we? We're Greenway Elementary. We are a multicultural nursery to kindergarten, grade 6 elementary school, and we're situated pretty much near the heart of the city. We have 450 plus students, about 20 classrooms, 3 special education programs, at least 4 lunch programs, 100 plus staff, and countless community events. I believe our gym has permits from 6 in the morning to 11 o'clock at night, every day of the week. So we're a very busy school, lots of going on in and out. We are also very proud to be a member of the Jane Goodall Roots and Shoots program. I'll speak a little bit about this, but if you have any questions, I can answer them after. But this isn't a great organization. We are proud to be one of 8 schools recognized as a Jane Goodall school. And this has been a real big influence and provider and support for our ESD program, our Education for Sustainable Development. So if you haven't heard of this or Jane Goodall or this program, I would really look into it. It's been a huge benefit. All right, kind of know who I am. I have 9 years in the LAC, the Learning Assistance Center for that program for Winnipeg 1. And I've been a member of our ESD committee and other committees in the school and in the community for that time. And our focus in the last 9 years has been not only promoting the ESD education curriculum, but also those behaviors, those habits, those lifestyle changes, and really trying to develop that in our school, within our students, and have that foster in their homes and in our community. So what is an LAC program? Typically, it's a specialized program. It's for students that have a hard time in a typical classroom. More or less, it's students that may have had some behavioral issues, and we help support them. But we like to look at it a little bit different. We unofficially call ourselves a low enrollment sensory aware classroom that's academic based. And it's for individuals who may have struggled in the past in a typical classroom setting. But what it really means is I am fortunate enough, my team, that I work with a small group of students, and we work hard in our classroom, but we also work within our whole school and community. We have events, whether it be public speaking programs that we do with our grade 6s for our Tusk, or if it's planting gardens with our nursery and kindergarten. We're an active member of our school, all grade levels, and we're a great little class. I'm glad to have them, and I love the fact that my school offers something like this to students. So we're going to be talking about composting, but how do we get there, or how we got there? We started off just really looking at our Sustainable for Education curriculum and looking at what we can do what do we need, what do we promote? Like I said, we're a roots and shoots school, and Jane Goodall's message is to not focus on the big problems, not try to fix the world, but really look at what you can do close to home, what you need close to home, develop that, do it well, and then go on to the next step. And eventually, as you work at home, it will benefit you, your community, your surrounding environment, and then eventually the world. So we started where most schools start. We planted 20 new trees in our green space in 2013. Then again in 2018, we planted another 52 trees. All our trees are what do you call it, found in Manitoba, are from the area here. Nothing that's been from, they're all what you would call it, nothing invasive, I can't figure the word right now, I apologize. But so they're all local plants, wildlife that you would see here. A combination of shrubs, fruit, flower-bearing trees, shade providers, and then some that we like to call kind of our keystone, are ones that are going to be around for years to come. We took some of our space and decided to take that whole ESD idea, and we built an outdoor classroom. So that way we can also be in the environment that we're talking about and teaching about. It's beautiful. We have our grandfather chair there. You can see surrounded by our 7 teaching stones. And this is now surrounded by a beautiful tree ring vegetation. Some of them are going to provide shade. And like I said, some of them are going to be keystones there that will planted this year, last year, but they will also be there for the next 50 to 100 years. So something for now, something for later, and then definitely for generations to come. Our next step, community gardens. It was a nice, easy go-to. It was something we could do with our students, teach them at school, but then also things that our community can benefit from. We realized our 3 gardens were not enough, and we expanded them. We're now at 7.5 gardens that are used at the school by the students, but also then provide for our community. This year being as it is, we have community members and families from around the area that have now adopted a garden for their own use. So it's nice to see that we have some families that are not only willing to take on that step, but also have the knowledge. We like to teach the students with the idea that not only we're improving their lives, but then they can take that information and share it with somebody. So really proud to have these gardens in. I'm proud to know that there are some families that are taking on that initiative and trying to utilize it and grow their own food and have those skills and that knowledge, but also we'll be planting them for the community, for those who may not yet know, but still would like to benefit from that. So they are a great addition to our school. We also then took a look, what's next? We have the trees, we're bringing back in that shade, we're adding to the bare grass field that we had. We added the gardens to help not only teach our kids, but also to feed our communities. But we were still missing that biomass. There wasn't that biodiversity. So we planted flower gardens, and actually this one here is an example of that ESD curriculum being brought into the classroom. This is my favorite flower garden. This project was a project done completely by my students. They were given a set area of space, and the task was to design a garden that would use up that space to promote a flower garden. They had to research their ideas, develop them, pitch them to the other students, and then vote on it to see what design would win. We went with the G for Greenway. That sits in the corner of our field facing the main road driving by for everyone to see. And they didn't stop there. The students then now had their project. They had to research supplies, costs. They had to do their measurements. They had to do all the cut list. The wood was delivered, and then they had to build it. And this is the final steps of them building it from the ground up. So this whole project really, in my mind, not only promotes that green, healthy living that we want, but also how you could use the sustainable development curriculum and tie it in with just our day-to-day. This was LA, this was math, this was public speaking, this was, working as a team. A lot of problem solving going on here. A few heated moments, but a lot of laughs. Again, next step, communities involved. We have now biodiversity, we have plants, we have people coming in, we have things being grown on our land. Water. We looked around and said we don't have the facilities, capabilities for people to water, so whether they be the classroom, the students, the families. So watering stations were our next step. Each of these are just little steps that led up to the next thing and the next thing on our path to try to reclaim not only this green space, but to promote this whole way of living or thinking. So the whole focus the whole time was school-wide. It wasn't just one classroom doing one project and letting everyone know. As much as possible, we gathered everyone together, invited, made everyone a part of it. Having the older students working with the younger students, teaching them those skills, passing on that knowledge, and then having those students grow up and then passing it on again just completes the cycle and really promotes the message, and it becomes more powerful. It becomes ingrained as part of our community, our culture. Okay. We were looking outside on what we could do to promote our green space and take healthy initiatives. Then we looked inwards. Well, what were some of the things that we could fix? And we noticed that our school, with our nursery kindergarten programs, our special ed programs and classrooms, just the day-to-day washing hands, we had a paper napkin concern. Just unbelievable. And I don't know about your schools or your communities, but we pay to get our garbage taken away. We do not pay for our recycling or our compost. So it was also, we realized that it might be a way of cutting costs if things end up not going into that black plastic bag that then got put into landfill, we wouldn't have to pay for it. So it was trying to shift not only things from the landfill, but also finances. Why pay to have something hauled away and buried that's going to be useless for everyone? So our school, we love our community and we try to promote it. So we have these big events. We have a barbecue every beginning of the year to kick off the year. We have community pancake breakfasts. We've hosted soup nights. We've had celebrations for our clubs. And we really tried to focus, not only were we trying to promote this community for 500 plus people, but we took on challenges like how to make it zero waste. How could we feed all these people but not produce any garbage? And one of the solutions was we had to start composting. There was no way around it. So we designed this composter. Being a larger school, we decided to go with a four cell composter. Each cell is 4 by 4 by 4. We built it as one whole unit. right in front. It is when you drive by our school down the main highway, it is the first thing you see. We wanted it far enough away from the school that we didn't have to worry about unwanted visitors, and we haven't had any yet, but also we didn't want to hide it away. We wanted it to be part of the community, part of the school, being visible. Like I said, our association with Jane Goodall, really beneficial. This was one of our initiatives, and the Roots and Shoots program funded this entire composter. This was an application 1 year, and they gave us all the funds and support we needed to build it. Our school, when we decided to compost, had a choice. We could have started maybe small, 1 classroom, 1 composter, and then build it, or we could just say, this is what we're doing, this is what we expect, and go full school, everyone. From nursery to kindergarten, grade 6, everyone was expected to be composting. We decided if we were going to do it, we were just going to do it, go with it. So we built this large composter for not only us, but our community. Just a little bit about it. It's designed that the front panels are removable completely. It's supposed to be the kids are active participants. They're the ones that are going to be hands-on. They're the ones who are going to be working in it, filling it, emptying it, stirring it. So we wanted them to have access to it. Those front panels pull completely off, so that way kids can walk right in and work on it. We divided it into 4 cells, and each cell has its own lid. That way, when we are not using a cell, or if we have one that we don't want to add any more compost to, we wanted to break down, we screw them shut. We don't have to worry about anyone playing in them or adding to them. We have control over them. And then we also decided to build a lid system that was kid-friendly. So we went with this piano hinge lid. It folds back on itself. It makes it so that way the students can not only open it, but we don't have to worry about it closing on a student and anyone getting hurt. It folds back on itself and kind of locks into place, and that's not going anywhere unless you really pull it back down. So we really put some design into this system. So not only is it built well, it meets our needs. Being a larger school, we expected to need a lot of composting space, but also that it's safe for everyone and it's accessible to everyone. Having said that, looking back, and our next steps will be is building a bench, maybe a stepping bench up to it. This is really, a lot of kids are interested. This is a magnet for our students at recess. They want to come see, they're curious. They want to see what's changed, how it looks, where their banana peel went. And our little ones may have a hard time reaching it, so we're looking into building a bench that surrounds it, so that way our nursery kindergartens can get on their tippy toes and look in and see what's going on for themselves. Here's just a couple of the students. You can see kind of just perspective of how it works and how accessible it is to them. So we designed it, like I said, we could do the work, but that's not really why we're here. We're here to help and promote it, and we really want them to be the owners of it, to buy in with it. Another project that we do with our composting at our school is we have an assembly kickoff. So this is an assembly in the beginning of the year where everyone is invited, nursery to grade 6, and we go through the same lesson. We review what the importance is. We just highlight again, we motivate our students. So we talk about what is composting, what can and can't be composted, why we should compost, how we go about composting at our school, what that looks like. And one of the big highlights is our trash audit. So we steal the trash can from the teacher's lounge, and I have to tell you this, kids take in information. They're so easy to, it's amazing how much they're willing to change and how much they're willing to try. Adults aren't. Our biggest offenders are our adults. They're terrible. They're slow at change. They're slow at changing habits. So quite often it's easy to find some things that we could have done better. And it's always fun to have the students really go like pin it against the teachers and, you know, telling them what they should and should not be doing. So we take the trash can, we empty it out, and we go through their whole, we go through what we found. And so here's kind of the breakdown. Our first picture to the left is, oh, we expect you to find is trash. But then when we go through it, we find out there's a lot of things that could be recycled or reused. We pull those off to the side, we highlight them. We find a lot of things that should be in the composter that are compostable. And then finally, surprise, surprise, there is garbage in the garbage can, but not as much as there was initially. So if all this made their ways into the proper bin, like I said, not only could we save us a few dollars a year, not paying to have that garbage hauled away, but we'd be saving what ends up in our landfill, but we'd give it a new use. We could repurpose some of the recyclables, we could recycle the recyclables, but we can capture that compost and turn it back into the soil we need for our gardens, for our trees, for our flower beds, just repurposing it. Another expectation is a lesson. I asked Chantal to make this public. I have our school-wide lesson. You're more than welcome to use it, adapt it, change it, do whatever, but the lesson is to be done right around that assembly, whether before or after. But when that first week, and the students will sit down with their teachers, they'll take their lunch kit, they'll open it up, and they'll assess after lunch what they have left. What is reusable? What's recyclable? What will be compostable? What will be garbage? And they talk, and it's a whole lesson of breaking down what they have. And quite often students have their routine and they have a typical kind of structured lunch, maybe sandwiches every year for the year, or it might be a banana or an apple. So kind of getting knowing what they will be expected to do and where this thing goes. Like, yeah, you can compost that, or no, you cannot. They take that information, share it as a class, and they come up with a compost information poster, the do's and don'ts. So this is to be posted in the classroom at our school, to be in the classroom or outside. It's to stay up all year round. And it's just that reminder of what is expected, what we expect, and what they can and can't do, and what they should be doing. So here's some examples from across our school. And yeah, we promote them. We put this on, and we have a school TV that promotes messages. We'll put them up there. We've had this in our school newspaper, our school monthly newsletter going home, not only just to promote the students' work, but also just to keep that message, to take it from the students, make it a school-wide knowledge, and then bring it into the households, the homes and the houses and the families, and let them know what their kids are doing, but also what their kids are learning and what habits they're building. Another great aspect of this is to break down those social barriers. I have to say, working with kids, you have a few, but most of them aren't like, ooh, that's gross or that's stinky. A lot of them just, they want to get in there. They want to see what's going on. They want to get dirty. And it's amazing how much they just buy into it. Yeah, so those lessons and that reminder really help out that this isn't a dirty thing. This is something that should be life. And, if everyone did it, it'd be easier. Even going through doing that trash audit, I've done it a couple of years now, and my kids that are returning, because I have a 4, 5, 6 class, so maybe in grade 4 they were kind of hesitant, and now in grade 6 and they're like, well, I'll just wash my hands or wear gloves, but we'll figure out what goes where. And you know what, they don't mind diving in. Okay, so we run a compost club, and this may look different for your community or your school. This isn't the way to do it or how to do it, but this is how it works best for us, we found. So we have a compost club, and it's open to everyone. Whether you're kindergarten to grade 6, it's an open invitation. You're invited to come at 1 o'clock every day to come be a part of Compost Club. We do this for a number of reasons. 1, we didn't want to turn anyone away. 2, we know that things were going to flux and wane, and we didn't ever want to run out. We didn't want to start off the year with, 40 people thinking that was enough bodies, and then realizing come Christmas or the first sunny day, we only have 2. And also, we really love the idea of our kids, our school working as a whole. So having the grade 6s supporting, the kindergartens, or putting a grade 2 and a grade 3 together and seeing how they can problem solve on their own and going from there. So we have our compost club. They meet at 1 o'clock every day. And I can tell you, we have a variety of reasons why people come. Some are really motivated and inspired to compost. Some are looking for a reason to get out of class for an extra 10 minutes. Whatever their reason, they come, we meet at 1 o'clock, and I have a few captains some in my classroom, some of them are the regulars that come by, and they delegate tasks. They see who comes, whether it be 10, whether it be 40, and they set out tasks. And you know, it can be chaotic. It can be a little hectic at first, but everyone figures out a role. And once again, it's great when the students become a part of it, because they take charge and they problem solve and they start delegating and figuring things out, and all the things you want them to be able to do. This is just another opportunity. So our tools. So we went big. This is what we wanted to do. We were going to make sure everyone had the opportunity, no excuse, and everyone was expected to do it. So we gave them all the tools they needed. The middle picture, you'll see a gray Orbit clamshell case. Every classroom has one of these. And these are picked up at 1 o'clock every day. They're rinsed out if they need to be. Once a month, they get washed out. They're returned back to the classrooms, open to dry out. And the expectation is you'll be emptied every day at 1 o'clock. If for some reason the classroom was to use it, say on a Friday, they had a party or a birthday, or they just had extra snack, it's on the onus of the teacher, classroom teacher, to walk it to the compost bin, empty it, and wash it back. We don't want any food or things left over to get a little funky over the weekend. And this routine seems to work. Rinsing them out when need be, washing them once a month, letting them air dry. We haven't had any issues with fruit flies or unwanted pests. But we also have had we have a lot of support. We have a lot of people looking out for it. So students will go, they'll go in teams of 1 to 6 or 5, and they'll go through the school, pick these up. We gather them all in 5-gallon pails. The 5-gallon pails also will be outside of our lunch programs, our multi-purpose rooms. They're the ones we use the larger bins for when we have our community events. They're in our staff room, and they're gathered all in these pails, and for us to weigh and to transport it to our composter. And like I said, our biggest problem was paper towels. That's why we started composting. We needed a way of getting rid of all these paper towels that weren't the trash. So we invested in these white bins. These large white bins are found in our nursery kindergarten. They're found sometimes outside of other programs when they need them, but these are just for paper towels. We made them clear, so working with the little younger students, they know exactly what goes in there. Other classrooms, if they have paper towels, say from a cake or a pizza party, they are just asked to put them into the gray pails. But we've been tracking specifically how many paper towels we get from our kindergarten nursery, not only for our sake, but I'll talk about it later for funding application purposes, for planning about our composter. We definitely record everything, and that is key. So strongly suggest many 5-gallon pails. That's all you need. You don't have to get the fancy ones with the closing lids. We have these from our custodians when they wax the floor every spring and fall. We just ask them to hold on to them, and we've collected a few. A scale. We measure everything that comes in and out. This is one of the students' jobs. It's a great resource for when you are applying for funding apps. What are you doing? How do you know it's working? What have you done? We keep track of everything. We keep track of the total weight in kilograms of our collected compost, whether that be green compost, our food scraps, or our brown compost, our paper towels. We estimate the volume using our 5-gallon pails, how much we are bringing out that day to our composter. And we estimate the volume of paper towels that are being brought out of our nursery and kindergarten classrooms as well. So just to help break down how much green compost is going in compared to brown compost, and our total weight, so we can see how much we're collecting, how much is being diverted from that landfill into usable soil for us. Another thing we do is positive reinforcement. This is a sign. It's also student-led. They're in charge of filling it out. With the information we gathered, this is outside of our room 220 where we meet every day to do our composting club, and it highlights what we did. You know, yesterday we collected this much, this many paper towel bins, and just trying to make sure the message is visible and that everyone knows what's going on. And it's interesting because this is outside of my classroom, and staff, students, adults, custodians, everyone walks by, takes a second, reads where we're at, and continues on. So it's like checking the weather every day. Everyone's interested. It takes 2 seconds, but it's I suggest some sort of form of making this public if you are with your composting projects. So. And students. Have students work with students. Like I said, we use multi-grades, multi-ages for a composting club. We have some of our leaders go into our lunch programs and just help sort or audit their trash. They'll stand by the compost bin, recycle bin, and trash can, and they'll divert people around and tell them where to go. Here's an example of a few of my students at one of our pancake breakfasts. You'll notice we have our recycling bin, and it has a digital, it has a written and a picture representation sign of what goes in there on both of them. And our composting bin we're using for that one, the larger, our larger ones for a larger event. And like I said, nothing special. I think those orange and yellow ones were old equipment buckets that no one was using that we repurposed. But we have students there just helping, making sure that it's being used properly. And one thing you'll actually notice is this entire event, this is one of our pancake breakfasts. There's about 500 people enjoying breakfast, and we have maybe 3 or 4 of these stations out. There's no trash can. We have taken on ourselves to design a meal that will be trash free as much as possible. But we also found if we have the trash can out there, that's the go-to. That's where everything ends up. So we removed it. So for these events happening in our gym, everyone's eating, we may have one small classroom black trash bag available for the wrappers of the straw on the juice boxes or something that they may have in their pocket, but we don't have that there because everything else has a place and we want to make sure it gets there. And like I said, once you get the kids on board, sometimes you have to hold them back. Like, no, I don't want you jumping in there right now to get that out. We'll worry about it later. You know, oh, Mr. S, there's a plastic bag inside that composter in the far back. Let me crawl in and get it. No, that's really wet because of the rain last week, and I don't want you covered head to toe in the compost. We'll get it when we sort it later. Oh, okay. So it's amazing what they are willing to do when they buy in. And this is an example of them. I didn't ask them to do this. I just turned around and they happened to see that somebody had threw their juice box or their banana peel in with the juice boxes, and they were pulling them all out. So I'm just proud when I see that. And you always see the pictures of the student, like even at those barbecues, you know, you have the parents around and they're about to throw their napkin in the trash, and some kid's like, Dad, Mom, stop. You can't do that. Don't you know it goes here? And you have that moment of pride where either the parent's proud that their son and daughter have stopped them and enlightened them, or the student's proud because not only did they stop their parents, they knew something that they didn't, you know, they one-upped them. So it's been a very positive experience, and it's something that I'm glad to be a part of. So we get asked this, is it working? How does it work for you? We keep all of our data. So this is just this year's. I didn't go back to last year's, but on average, through my data, we collect 93 kilograms of compost waste per month. That works out to being roughly 25-gallon pails from our school alone. And if you look at this really, I wanted to highlight this. If you look at March is over 60 kilograms. That was only 6 days of data. We had to leave because of COVID, but I still had some of my data in 6 days. That's over 10 kilograms per day from our school. 10 kilograms, 2 5-gallon pails roughly, that would have ended up in the trash. Just unbelievable. And then here's comparing our green compost, our food scraps, to our paper towel. Paper towel is our lighter, our brown compost. And as you can tell, we have a paper towel issue at our school. And looking at this, yes, we're doing something to fix it, but is there something more? Can we figure out a way not to be using so many paper towels? Because yes, they are going into the composter, but there's still so much, because we're using so many, there's still not, it's helpful, but we could still do better. So This data has been really useful for not only us to reflect like I just did, or just even to put in applications. This is what we're doing. This is what we would like to do. Here's where we're at. This is why we're asking for some money or more money. And this is what we hope to do. And we have that hard data that is, can't argue it. And it really helps with those funding apps. So that was our composting program. Like I said, if you have any questions, let me know. But we, like I said, started with the trees and the gardens, and we started in little steps, and that's very much the roots and shoots philosophy, is start small, fix what you need locally, and then go from there. We've already started highlighting some of our next steps, specifically focused with our composting program. So one of them was coffee pods. Our school uses pods. That's a whole nother story, but we started collecting them. We wanted to see how many we went through a month, and I won't lie, it's about 90 to 120 pods per month that get collected, that are diverted from the trash can into the bin. A round report card, that round report cards, that doubles. But we wanted to find out what to do. So we started now tearing them apart. We realized that there's only a small bit that is garbage if they're removed properly. We end up with a lot of recyclable plastic, but also a lot of compostable coffee grinds. February, there was 5 kilograms in 1 month. So that was from December to February, 5 kgs, and a 5-gallon pail full of coffee grinds. That's a lot of waste that now isn't waste. It's got a use. We are looking into trying an aeration system. So this was something that we looked into, this black PVC pipe. One of our staff sat down for about 10 minutes with a drill and had some fun and put a bunch of perforated holes all through the piping. And we've now installed them into our composter just so that there's more airflow to try to see if it helps speed up our process of breaking it down. Something that we looked into. Another little hint is in the wintertime, compost tends to stack up because it may be too cold for it to break down. We have students and staff going out with buckets of water, whether they're cleaning out the fish tank or they're just getting some warm water from the tap, and we're dumping it in there just to pack it down so we can save on space. And it really helped kick off the process. This March, when it got a little bit warm, you could smell and you could feel the heat coming off the compost because it's already wet, and a lot of that process of breaking down started early. So I'm hoping we'll find out how that goes. We're just some of our ideas. Another one is expanding it into the community. We're working on signage and working on a sign out program where community members can sign out some of these bins that we bought specifically to go into households. So not only are we composting at the school, but those families in the neighborhood who are interested can start composting as well. And if they don't want to build their own, they can use ours. So we have a lot of community and community members who are walking down the street, across the field with their bins of compost and dumping it in weekly, daily. And it's amazing how much people are buying into it. Like I said, we didn't want it to be an eyesore, and it isn't. It's something that people stop day to day. What's this? Or how's it going? Or oh, can we use that too? So with some proper signage and some training with the kids, having the kids teach the parents at home what to do and not to do, it's working out really well. And another idea that we haven't put in place yet, but it's a thought, is to actually eliminate the garbage can entirely. Not only the garbage can, but the recycling bin in the classroom. We are going to start it in our older grades, but having what we call our recycling compost depots. This is an example. We suggest using a smaller trash can, but removing that recycling bin, that trash can, out of the classroom, keeping the composter there just because then they need it, but also having a compost available at these stations and having the students move to go do it. The idea would be to, yes, you'll be ones that abuse it, you know, your bathroom walkers, your water drinkers that go up for walks and come back, but to really make them mindful of what they're doing, what they're using, what they're going to throw away, and also just moving around. It's also our initiative to cut back on plastic bags. we have 20 classrooms. That's 20 garbage bags a day that do get emptied, even if there's just one item in there, and 20 recycling bags that do get emptied every day. It's a lot of waste, and we're just looking at new ways to promote this our whole green, sustainable development mentality that we're building. So that's what I have. I hope I didn't go too fast, but if you have any questions, comments, this would be the time to ask. My last thing I'm just going to say before we get in there is have fun with it. Make it a community event. Get everyone out. This is one of my favorite pictures of the parents watching, waiting to pick up their kids while the older grades are working with the younger grades, setting up our new gardens. So it was a real good moment, kind of snapshot. But that's it for now. That's where I'm at. I'm going to log this off. And Chantel, if you're there, I guess we can start asking, and or Beth answering some questions if possible.
Yes, great presentation. Thank you. So we do have a few questions.
Okay.
Which one?
Want to start with the one about the building instructions for the 4-unit compost bin?
Okay. Actually, I'm just going to mention, I really appreciate that 93 kilograms is the weight of a Rocky Mountain goat. So to put it in perspective. The instructions actually we found from Green Action Center. They had a worksheet and booklets of how to composting at school, and they gave a suggestion. We took that idea and then just made it our own. So sat down, thought of it a bit, but if you have any questions, or we can send you our dimensions, we can send you pictures if you want to mimic it or kind of build upon it. Absolutely, you can ask and we can send you what we have, but the base of it came from Green Action Center's handouts.
Great, well, we can include those when we send out follow-up information to attendees.
Perfect.
Yes. What were other questions there, Beth, that pop out to you?
Sorry, I was copying Nicholas's email address to put in the in the chat box.
If you
All right. Let's see.
Well, there's a lot of positive comments. An amazing program, inspiring. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
The idea is we were inspired from another school. Their program looks a bit different. They couldn't put a composter on their grounds because they didn't have the support, which is huge, but also the space. So they actually went into community areas. They had compost little bins in backyards in the community of families and friends of families. And we decided to change it. So be inspired, find what works for you, and try it out. Like, it's amazing if you do it and you can kick it off. It's quite amazing how it changes not only the kids, like I said, teachers and parents are a little bit harder, but the kids' view and their habits.
Yep, so is there any more questions from our attendees? Just send it in the chat room box. You can send it directly to Nick, or you can send it to all. Yeah, I just happened to, like, visually, I wanted to sort of like give people an image of like what 93 kilograms looks like. You convert it into the metric system, it's 205 pounds. So yeah, they came up with a mountain goat and a couple of other types of goats, but yeah.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it.
Yeah, so that was that. Yeah, and as Nick said, there is instructions on the compost bin on the Green Action Center website. And I believe, Nick, you incorporated the tube aeration system and the foldable lid, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so those were the things that were a little bit different. Do you have instructions on adding that component?
No, but like I said, you can email me. Another thing is our admin is very supportive, and they're amazing. If you have any questions about even our outdoor classroom to our gardens, there's a lot of other stuff that we've been doing to promote our green space, but our composters are the project. you can get a hold of me. And if you're in the area or you want to do another, like, well, if you're in the area when we get back, you're more than welcome to set up a visit. I know that that's been offered in the past to individuals, other schools, other programs. But if you are ever interested, like I said, reach me through email, ask me the questions. We've been getting very good at using Zoom. We can even have a Zoom chat, but we'd really like to see more people take on this initiative and try it and see how it works and really dive into it. So,
and sorry, I was just going to mention, Nick, that you had given us permission to share your email address. And so I have done that in the chat room. So hopefully everyone saw that. It's nskrabek@wsd1.org. So it's in the chat box there.
Perfect.
And people are just saying how great it is to have students pick up bins at 1 p.m. that they're always really restless right after lunch. So
you know what, and it's great. And like I said, some days, you know, when it's, you know, the first sunny day, you know, you'll have your core crew, and the best part is you can run it with 2 or 3 kids, and you can also make it work with 40. So I really suggest just leaving it open, and everyone knows it's an open invitation, and you have people that just show up daily or weekly or monthly, but it's nice to see them. And sometimes it's just kids that are, I needed to get out of the classroom. Can I do this for 10 minutes? Absolutely. Here you go. So.
And I believe there was a question from Maria. She was looking for step-by-step instructions for the plant beds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
If Maria, if you like, you can email us, email me. They're fairly simple, but for everyone, a suggestion that we found is before you put your soil in, after you build your flower bed, we went around our school and found any of our shreddings, our paper that was going to be recycled. We even used at the time the collected leaves. We put that as a base, not only to kill down the grass that we put it on and prevent weeds from growing up, but also as a moisture barrier. And it's great. We moved our one garden after 5 years, and there was still a bed of paper there that had been broken down and was full of water and sopping water, but the grass hadn't come through yet. So we'll have our gardens there for many years, and it's really helpful trying to keep out so you're not constantly weeding. So I'll send you the information, but for those who are maybe starting them up, please maybe to consider putting down that bed first to block it all out. I'm looking here, sorry?
Yeah, a couple more questions. Yeah, you saw them too, about stirring the compost and what happens in the winter months.
So stirring the compost, we haven't got too many times to do that yet, but we're hoping the aeration system helps limit that. The way we built our composters are that panel comes right out, and it's as easy as a student going with a shovel or filling up a bucket and walking it into the next composter. So we actually will have them move it from one, say, the first cell into the second or third, and stirring it that way. We've also looked into aeration sticks, which are just metal pokers to poke holes into it. But we're trying a few things. We're going to let one sit and see how it goes. We're going to have one with the aeration system and see how that helps out. And then our next one, we'll be doing the flip. We'll be moving it. So once it's full and it started breaking down, we're going to go and remove it, most likely that April, May kind of time before it gets really hot. And then that way it has all summer to sit. In the winter, same thing. We compost as much as we do through the summer. Students go out, they pour it in. The one thing that we did find was this year we started adding water. So bring out 2 pails, 5-gallon pails, maybe split 4 half 5-gallon pails for the kids and bring them out there and just have them dump it in. And it was just not to do anything with the composting process. It did help in the spring, but it was just to save space, to pack everything down. And it also helped keep the squirrels out. We had some squirrels deciding that they wanted to help themselves to some of the napkins for nesting materials, but if it had a layer of ice over it, they weren't interested. And I saw also less things moving around. So I think if everything's frozen in a block, it not only will it help it from disappearing, but our hopes is also if it's frozen in the block, that core inside of it will still continue to compost even slowly through the winter and just just help it along.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
All right.
All right, thanks, Nick. And like I said, with everyone else, I'll share the recording of the webinar for anyone that needs it. And there's also a document Nick shared with me on their lesson plan on how to do a school compost kickoff. Greenway. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, everyone.